Family law software is basically going to take all the data that you put in and be able to spit out reports, allow you to do analysis, allow you to look at different options. And it is, in my opinion, fairly easy to use on one level, but very complicated on another level. So let's look at what that looks like. So this that I'm showing you is the brand new cloud version that is going to be released on Friday. You can actually start using this version now. If you go, instead of pro.flsgo, if you go to beta.flsgo, I have a secret code that allows me to do it with pro. And so this is a new version. What we've done is we've taken the tabs that were on the top. If you've used the program, you've seen this. And we have put all of the menus down the side. And this little menu list here is going to be able to expand and shrink so that you have a little more screen real estate. So when you get really good at the program, you can have the screen shrunk and use all the screen real estate for your calculations and everything. And this program now also has a file manager. Whoops, now, of course, this is what happens when I get all ready early, and then it just is like, okay, you haven't done anything in a half an hour. We're kicking you out. Okay, so this has the file manager, which will allow you to have all your files. It allows you to have put case names for the files when you open a file. And then you can search, you can filter, you can sort. So I can go most recent, or I can go oldest. I can go by the name. I can go by the case name. And I can also look at all the firm's files. So Kara, this would be good for your organization. You have the cloud firm version, I believe. And if you don't have the firm version, you won't have this option. But this way, if somebody has to work on somebody else's file, they're sick or they have COVID or whatever is going on, or God forbid on vacation, you will be able to look them up, look up their cases and have access to it throughout the firm. You can also archive files and you can backup files. So now we automatically do backups. So you'll see a lot of backups. And that is because we want to make sure that your data is always, always safe. Now, shared files is for the ones that the client enters the data. And I'm going to show you that now. When you do a new file, I click on new, I can either create a new file that I'm going to start entering data in, or I can register the client and let them start entering the information. And this saves time and money because the client isn't paying you, or you're not spending your time just sitting and entering data. So what you're going to do is put in their name, the other party's name, the state of filing. So you could change that. Let's get out of that. You can put it in for California, and that'll automatically be coming up when that's your state. And then you can give the file a name. So that'll be the file name that we looked at a moment ago in the file manager. And then you're going to register the client. They will get an email with instructions on how to register and start entering the data. To register, all they need is their email address, and they'll create a password, which they don't have to share with you. because their email address is linked with your email address in our system, then you will automatically have access to those files under shared files, meaning the client and you are sharing them. So I'm going to keep going with the file I had opened, if this is going to let me do that. Yes, it did. And so all of the information goes into the enter data pages. When the client does it, this is, well, I didn't open a file with a client. Sorry, I'm going to have to switch files real quick and to be able to show you the client information. So here's what the clients will see when they start entering the data. And each one of these sections just expands, and then they can start putting in the information. And it's very self-explanatory. They can mark done at each section. And so they'll know when it is all done. They'll have check boxes for everything here. And then they can say done for now. So when you register a client, you as the user are going to have 3 emails that are going to come to you. So it's going to go to the licensed user. So if a paralegal is doing it, although for the firm cloud version, the paralegals are registered as well, are licensed as well. But though there will be an email. The first email says you've sent the registered data, the web data entry link to the client. The second one will be when they open it up and start using it. They start putting in information. I always laugh because clients will be telling me for 2 weeks, oh yeah, I'm entering the data. And then I'll get the email saying that they've started entering the data. They weren't doing it for 2 weeks, but so when they enter the data, you'll get a confirmation. And then when they're done, you will get an email from us letting you know that the client's ready for you to look at their information. Now, what I find is that just like if you gave them pieces of paper to fill out, they don't ever fill it out 100% accurately. It just is the nature of the beast. So what I do is I go into reports, and then I go into more reports. And in more reports, there are 3 pages for lawyers, for planners, and graphs. I go to the planners page because this allows me to do multiple reports as one document, as one PDF. And I will do the budget report. That is all the income and expense. And that's report number 6. And I will do property statement. It's report number 17. And that's all the assets and liabilities. So basically, it's a snapshot of everything that they've entered. And I'll take these 2 reports and I will look at each one just to make sure I know what's in there. And this is also a way to look at what data your clients have entered. It's very simple this way. Open up the budget report. Okay, this is what they put in. Wonderful, wonderful. And at the top of the page for each of these reports is click here to set report options. As you are learning the program, I would say 2 things. There's really 3, but I'll get to the 3rd later. 2 things to remember about reports. One is that you want to look at those lists of reports, play with them, open them up, see what they are, because there may be some that will be more useful to you than others. There are some that are very, very detailed. It is unlikely, especially for our pro bono organizations, that you're going to need most of that stuff. But there's also some very nice, neat reports that are helpful to send to a client or send to the court or the opposing attorney. And then the second thing is to look at the report options. So the report options don't change the report data. It just changes what shows. So for example, on this budget report, I might want to only include the income and not the expenses. Or I might want to only include the expenses and not the income. I may want to do it monthly or annual. I may want to have just one party, or I may want to show both parties. There's a lot of different options here. And as you're learning the program, it's fun to just play with it and see what's there. Because I know you have nothing but time, right? So I will do that for each of these reports, the budget report number 6 and the property statement report number 17. And then I just go up here on the top right and click PDF, and it will create a PDF of these 2 reports, which I can then just print or email to the client and say, thank you for entering your data, your information in family law software. Here's a summary of what you've entered. Look it over, make sure it's accurate and complete. And then sometimes I may point out, you put in $1,200 a month for auto insurance. That's probably not correct. That might be an annual number. Can you double check that? You know, those kinds of things. Now, when they are ready to go back in and make those changes, you can go and if you're using the firm cloud version, as I know many of you are, you can just let them go back in the file and change it. But if you want to not let them do that, because we don't have revision marking or red lines, so you won't know what they changed and what they didn't change unless you started comparing every line on those reports with what they had before, which is a pain, no reason for that. So you can lock the client file and then just be in the file as your own, which is kind of handy. It's also handy for them to be able to go back in and just make changes. I happen to be a little bit of a control freak, just a tiny little bit. So I like to not let them go back in. I want them to tell me the changes because I want to stay on top of it as well. So that's just how I do it, but you can just let them make the changes if you choose. And then you've got all your information. Now, if you're doing the data entry yourself, and obviously you've got all your information, you can just start working with it. If you're doing the data entry yourselves, I like to start after putting in the parties' names and the kids' names. I like to start with assets and liabilities because there are cash flow items in the assets and liabilities that will automatically then be filled out in the income and expense. So it saves me, a few clicks and a few minutes of time. So if I go into the assets and liabilities, and I, for example, am putting in an investment account. I did such a good job of typing that. Say I have a JP Morgan with 29,000 in it, and it's a money market, and it yields, we'll just say $290. Yeah, we should be so lucky. We can say whose title it is, it's joint, and do you want it on the whose affidavit do you want it on, whose declarations do you want it on. I generally say both, just because I don't want to accidentally have something be on the wrong affidavit. And when we're talking about assets and liabilities, there's only one set of assets and liabilities. And they're either marital or community or separate, right? So there are some things that I can do, settings for the page. So I can say, I'm going to show the fields for the financial affidavit, or what you guys call in California, the declarations. And I can also show on this first page if there's any separate property. So now I suddenly have this separate property checkboxes. If it is not all separate property, but a portion is separate, I can go into the 3 dots in the green box, which is more information, and fine tune this information there. So I'll show you that in a minute. And I can also have a default allocation, which only applies to new assets. So if I say 50-50 for each asset is the default, it's not going to change the JP Morgan. But if I add another account, let's say, yeah, they've got Bitcoin and yeah, value. Used to be $10,000, now it's 197, right? And you can see here it automatically got allocated 50-50. I think we should add a crypto to this list of different types of investments. That would be cool. And again, title is, let's say it's Barry, and it is going to go on both affidavits. And we'll just play around with this information as we move on with the case here. But you can see that having the income from it entered now, when I go to the income and expense part, when I go into, let's go into income for Cherry. This is only, you can see that our monthly income pieces are going to be there. So here we go. The annual income is already there. So in this program, anytime you see a field, and fields with yellow backgrounds are data entry fields, fields with blue backgrounds are calculated fields that are bringing the information from another location. But anytime you see a yellow data entry field, you can put it in. If you see that field, we have them repeat on different pages. It's already filled in. So if I change this number to 270 and I go back to the asset and I go back into the checking investment, you can see that that change was already there because it's the same field. So you can put data in any order you want. You can jump around. You can start one place and go to another place. But like I said, I like to do assets and liabilities first because your cash flow items are in there. You know, whether it's the payment on a debt or if it's the income from an asset. Okay. And then go to income and expense. But I really, in my practice, we have the clients fill it out and they do a pretty good job. It's never perfect. What can I say? Now, I just want to make sure we're in California. Yeah, oh no, we're in Illinois. That's why it was looking weird. Change this back to California. Okay, so with the child support being the big thing that you guys want to do first often, we have on our FLS complete page, and there are 4 different pages here. There's the DISO format, which will give you the kind of quick data entry that DISO uses, but without a lot of the detail that we have. So you can open up each section and see the detail, but it's a little more DISO or organized, which in my opinion is not very organized, but what can I say? So we have our FLS complete. We also have the FLS quick page, which is all just the basic stuff. So for most of your cases at the legal aid organization, this will be sufficient for your people because they don't have a lot of different income. They don't have a lot of different complex tax situations. So you can just start here, and you can always move to the complete page, and the data that you've already put in is there, and you can just keep going with all this other information. And what we've done here is this is all the pieces that will lead to an accurate and complete support calculation for California. And every state has its own support data entry page. When we're looking at each section, of course, taxability of spousal support, self-evident. The state of California still allows the alimony deduction. The federal government does not. So that's split there. For the children, you can put in the number of overnights. If you don't know the number of overnights, we have this little bed icon here. It's a cute way of doing overnights, right? And you can put in their basic schedule. So let's say that there are 2 overnights every 2 weeks. That's the Friday, Saturday. And maybe they have 1 additional overnight during the week. Bam, here's your percentage, your total overnights, bim, bam, all there. Now, if you have other hardship children, you can add them as well. And what you would do is you would add a child, and for let's baby, and that child was born in, let's say, 3/1/2022, and that is not a child of the relationship. So she's got another child not of the relationship. Guess what? It automatically became a hardship child. And if we did it the other way, where it was Barry's and not a child of the relationship, it automatically becomes a Barry hardship child. So that is automatic in our program. And then the other pieces of information, of course, are fairly self-explanatory. I'm always available if you have questions, but I don't want to spend our time just going through every little detail. But what I will show you is 2 things about data entry. Number 1 is the 3 dots in the green box is more information. So this allows you to fine tune the information that's on this front page of data entry. And what that really does, when the clients are entering data, they don't have most of that more info, and it's context sensitive. So here for the children, if I click on more info, it's going to give me a bunch of information that I can use for filling out the information on the front, but also fine tuning. So we automatically calculate when the child turns 18. And, let's say that this child was born, let's make this, child was born in February. The child's born in February, they turn 18. They may still be in high school that year, right? Theoretically. So I can change this or overwrite the number so that the support is going to run through May of 2023, 33. And it's going to turn red when I overwrite it. If I want to go back to the original calculation, all I have to do is delete what I've overwritten and then tab or enter, and it will go back to the original information. So it's not gone, it's just overridden, and I can change it anytime I want. And then this tax exemption information really has to do with projections and step downs and things like that. So, and when you have a child as a tax exemption, theoretically, it changes your taxes, which could change your support. So if there's multiple children, this may be relevant. And we go through all this information. Now, let's go back to our calculation. And then I can just close this section. And now if I go, like, for example, into assets and debts, close this section, make it easier. Let's go into that investment checking account, and I go to more information. And now it's going to ask me completely different questions because it's context sensitive. So this allows me to really fine tune the information that I put in. So this, when you're learning the program, is a very good place to explore. What you can always use the sample file if you want to play around. If you go into the settings, here is the sample file. You can always click to open it. So we're in the investment data entry. It's going to ask me other things besides what we have so far put in, and fine tune the information. As I said, the clients won't have most of this because it's really stuff that they don't know. One of the things that we ask, for example, is what's the basis of this asset? Is there any money owed or lien on the asset? All of those types of things. And so every section is going to have its own more info. So as you're learning the program, I would say go ahead and go into those pages and really play around with it. Now, also in the data entry, we have footnotes. So there aren't footnotes with the children piece, but that's why I'm going into wages. Here, the blue box with the little comment bubble is for footnotes. When it's empty, it's going to look like this. If I go into the footnotes, if I click on it, I can put anything I want in the footnote field, as much text as will fit in there. If it doesn't fit, it's too long. It shouldn't be a footnote. I can also make the entry estimated. So it'll put an EST next to the number in your printouts, which is very handy when you don't actually have the information yet, like a house value or pension value or something like that. So you can make it estimated, or you don't know their income and you're estimating their income. I know that never happens to you. Now, what you can also do, you can also bold the text. It helps sometimes to alternate the bolding. You don't want to make all the text bold, but it makes it easier to read sometimes if you want something to really stand out on your list. Now, sometimes you may want to put in private text. So I might say, double check this amount, right? I don't want the client to see that, or I don't want the other side or the judge to see that, but it's just a reminder to me to go back in and check that, so I can make this a reminder. And then when I save this footnote, now that comment bubble is filled in so that I know there's something in the footnote. Now there is a report. If we go back to reports, more reports, that's just footnotes. So on the lawyer's page, it's at the bottom of the page. On the planner's page, it's at the top. So that makes it more handy. I like this one better. It's the same report, just in a different place. And now here we have reminders. And I can hyperlink or click on this reminder. It brings it up. I've double checked it. It's all good. I'm going to make it not a reminder anymore. Now I'm going to have this footnote. And when I save it, you can see I have footnotes and I have reminders. So this is the only report that's going to show you the reminders. They're not going to show up on your other reports. Okay, so now you're entering all this data. Perfect timing. What do you do with it? Well, the first thing we can do is a child support guideline printout. Now we have two different formats. we have the DISO master format, because that's what everybody's used to seeing. And I think personally, it's the most ridiculous layout of information. I don't know. When I first saw it, I'm like, well, where's the result? Well, the result is in the middle. It makes no sense to me. Anyway, so here's your DISO page. We also have our own worksheet. And our own worksheet is more linear. It gives you all the information, how it's calculated, and it just runs down the numbers till you get to the amount of support and spousal support in the case. We also have available to you a certification that will show you that you can use to show that family law software is approved by the California Judicial Council. And DISO Master is not the only software that can be used. The California Judicial Council has approved actually about 6 different softwares to do support calculation. So take that, judges. Now we also have the disclosure statement, the declarations, and they will auto fill with the information that you've put in. So if I open the 142, it's going to give me the schedule with everything I've entered already put in. So all the data that I've entered is already in there and I'm ready to go. What if I want to check something? I'm not sure that number's right, or I want to change this. You see, these are all blue fields, meaning they're calculated fields. So I want to change the data. I can go to link and it will take me right to the data page where that information is. So if I want to change, for example, make that IRA capitals, because I want to be like really super careful about this stuff. Now I can go back. And now when I go down here, the IRA is capitalized. Now, if there's something that you want to write over just because you want the original data, but you don't want it to show on the declarations, like maybe a health insurance number that they're not paying yet, but you may or may not want it on there, but you want it in your data. You can always overwrite the number and it will again turn red. On your printouts, of course, if you don't have a color printer, nobody's going to see the red. So it works just fine. Okay, we also have other Judicial Council forms. We have the 100 to 199, the FL forms, and all of these also automatically fill. So what you want to do is first go to the enter data page and be able to fill in the information that isn't already filled in. And then when you're done, you would generate the PDF for it and be able to e-file or whatever you're going to do with that PDF. So we have the 100 to 199s, we have the 200 to 299s, 300s, the 900s, and then we have a bunch of miscellaneous forms. We have some local forms for a few of the counties. At some point, I suppose we may have more forms in there, but we're only going to have family law forms or family law related forms. Now, so those are the forms. Now we have a bunch of different reports I want to go over with you. View, edit taxes, forget these dates here, the years. I'll tell you about that in a sec. This is actually a pro forma tax return for the current year and any future years that you tell the program to look at. And this is what their tax return is going to look like this year. it's a projection. Obviously, we don't know how much money people are going to make, but we're assuming that the numbers you put in are correct. So this will tell you, are they going to get any tax benefit on the credits? What's their total taxes going to look like? And you may see for some lower income people, for example, with children, you're going to see some negative numbers. That's actually money back in some instances that they will get. So here we have refundable credits of 5233. So even though this person is working and making tax payments at the end of the year, they're actually going to get back $3,700 in real money. And you can make that part of your support calculation as well. We also have the budget report, which again is all of the income and expense. And there are options for what you're going to show or not show. The marital property division, this I like to think of as the end result report. What is the division going to look like? And now I already showed you more reports. There's 50 or so reports, but let's look at how do you get to this end result? Well, one way is when you enter data, you can set the defaults. You can't do that if the client's going to enter the data. You can do it asset by asset. So I can go into the assets and debts, and I can say, who's going to get each asset? Is Cherry going to get the house? Are they going to split it? Is Barry going to get the house? And we can do that. But what I like to do is I go into analysis. I like to see the whole picture. So I go into analysis and go to divide property between the spouses. I'm going to uncheck these two options up here and just do the basic support. And I'm going to start with the bar chart because the bar chart will tell me if there's anything I haven't allocated between the parties. So here we've got unallocated of $29,000. And obviously that's going to change the balance sheet. So we can move things around either by percentage or I can move it around by dollar amounts. And it will automatically calculate the percentages. So now it's going to give me, I've allocated everything, good. The unallocated goes to zero. You can do a little pie chart that will show me what each of them is getting. And here we have an almost equal division. What is this difference? Well, I can do the math, but I'm a lawyer. I don't do math. So I will just click the box and it will automatically show me how far away they are from 50-50 or any other percentage. So here Barry's off by about $5,000. So I can give him another $5,000 and, you know, maybe it's 501. So we could make it another. So now we're only off by $1 on a 50-50 split. Or I can leave that, go back to making this a 50-50 and leave that amount to balance. And that would be an equalization payment coming from somewhere at some time, whatever's negotiated. Sometimes you want to look at different options for, oh, there's another option here, which allows you to look instead of an overall equalization, maybe you want to do 50-50 on retirement, but some other division on non-retirement assets or on debt. So you can do it by asset class as well. Now, sometimes you want to look at different options for how you're dividing the property. So let's go to property division scenarios. And here in the actual, this is what's going to show on that report, the marital property division report, the community property. That's going to show the actual So if I go back to my analysis, property division scenarios, now I can look at different scenarios. And I can add as many scenarios as I want. My suggestion is it's going to start out by copying the actual. Let's do a 60-40. 60. I know you guys don't do that a lot, but let's just play around with it. And let's say that, just to make it even, let's say that Jerry's going to get 0 on that one. Okay, so it's not quite. We'll call this, I don't want to play around. I don't want to waste time here. So we'll just call this a 4752. Okay, so you're going to label them, because what you can do is you can swap any of the scenarios for the actual or between them to change the order. So I can swap for scenario 2, and it's literally going to flip those 2 columns. And now this 4752 is my actual, and that's what's going to show up on that community property balance sheet, property division. This also allows you can change the values so that you can see what it would look like if the value was this or that. So there's lots of different options here, and it gives you the whole list of the community property. You can also look at property on an after-tax basis. I assume that for the pro bono organization, you're not going to have a lot of this concern, but sometimes you want to trade off a retirement asset for a non-retirement asset, and this is going to be able to calculate the tax for you on those kinds of assets. We also have some other reports under more. Let's talk about spousal maintenance. So we do have a calculation for maintenance based on the county formulas when you're entering the data. Let's go back to support data, and I could go down to spousal support, and I can choose which county I want to look at. I'm going to be under Santa Clara County. Fine, that's a 40-50 split. I can go to Alameda, so that's a 35-40. Every one of those counties. And if you're doing, well, you guys don't do other counties, but if you wanted to know which county there is, we have the sheet that will say which county is which. It's down here in the spousal support to use. We'll get there in a minute. So if you want the county amount, you can put it, you can just leave it as the county amount, and that's fine. Here's that county list. It'll show you every county and which formula they use, if they use any. But theoretically, that is not supposed to be what you do in a permanent situation, as opposed to a temporary one. So if you want to use this calculated amount, you can click here to use the calculated support amount, spousal maintenance amount, spousal support. Or if you don't want to use that amount, you can unclick and it'll turn blue, yellow again. And you can put in the amount you've agreed on or the court's decided or whatever. Here's the thing. How do you figure that out? So we have a number of ways in the analysis section to figure out spousal support. We can look at, first, let's go to more. And if we go to spousal support break even, this tells you this is how much Sherry needs to break even based on her income and expenses. So maybe you start with that number. Sometimes that number doesn't work because expenses are, should we say, a little inflated, or maybe too frugal. So we have two other ways of calculating support. then go to meet recipient need, which allows you to put in what you want as the after tax. Let's take off a 0 here. We'll make it 80,000. What does that come out to? No, that's still too much. We'll make it 40,000. Okay. And that's 1181. And I can make it 30,000. That's 353. And you can just keep showing another column and playing around till you get a number that you like. And if you want to see what that's going to look like for them, we have a detail, which is our short little impact statement, support impact statement, that gives you the income shift. Or you can go to an expanded report, which gives you more detail. For each scenario. Okay. And we also have, if you don't know what the desired after-tax income that you want this person to have, let's look at balancing the income. So how do you want to divide the available income? Do you want to divide it 50-50, 1/3, 2/3? Show another column. I can divide it 40, 60, and it'll give you that support amount. And again, either the short detail or the expanded report can be printed as well. And once you know what the support number that you want is, either by using the percentages or the dollar amounts, then you go back to enter data, to the support data, to the very last section, which is spousal support to use. You're going to uncheck the calculated support amount, and you're going to put your amount here. I don't remember what it was, but let's just say it's $600 per month. And along with the duration. And that is going to then be used by the program for all of the other calculations, including child support. Now, we also have a present value. So you can either look at it here, or we can go to the analysis section and go to present value if you want to do a buyout of maintenance. The only variable these days, it really is the pre-tax interest rate or the discount rate. In California, the state tax rate also plays a part in the present value. And then you have a whole explanation here for the calculation. And it gives you a whole calculation. If you want even more detail, we do a detailed report, probably more than you guys need. So we did divide property, we did spousal support. Let's talk about child support. We have our short detailed child support and spousal support snapshot. This would be using the actual. So whatever you put in for the spousal support or the automatic calculation, and it will show you net percent of combined net. You can then either show or not show living expenses, and that's one of the report options here. And I can do it monthly, annual, weekly, whatever the client likes. And there you go. This is how we're going to end up. So now if I looked at the graph for this, which is right here, here's Cherry and Barry, and now here's Cherry and Barry. And you can see how the income shifted. Now, we also have side-by-side scenarios for child support, because there are variables that can impact the amount of support. I have no idea what's in this scenario on my little sample here, but let's just assume that there's something going on here. And all these variables will allow you to do, again, side-by-side scenarios. You label them, you can swap them. The actual column is what's going to show on your support worksheet, and it's super fun. Okay. And you can decide what is going to show up on your what if questions there on the what if for child support. So do we have any other questions? I'll give you guys a minute to get your brains working again. And feel free to type in the chat or the Q&A. I'll go back and show you just 2 more things since we have a few more minutes. Okay. I'm going to also show you that we can do arrears. So when we go into enter data, we can calculate support arrears. You put in the support obligation. You put in any regular payments made over a period of time. So for 2 years they were paying, and then they stopped. So here you put in the regular payments, and then here you can put in if they paid for 2 or 3 years, but they missed a couple of payments in that stream, you can put in missed payments. And then you can put in any one-time payments, to get out of jail payments. And it will automatically give you the principal and interest and add them up. And then you can click for a report. And at the top of that report, you can click to see the detail of the interest accumulation. It is super easy. So let's say it's $200 a month and it started 2/1/2011. Oops, 2/1/2011. Leave the end date. They paid $200 a month from 2/1/2011 until 12/1/2013, 14. And they made those payments, except then they missed a couple of payments. Let's say 6/1/2012, they missed a $200 payment. And you can put in as many missed payments as you want. And then let's say that then 9/7/2021, they paid $1,500 to stay out of jail. We're going to apply that one. Now I can click to update results, and bam, here's my arrearage. I can click on the report. It gives me the detail. It gives me the summary. I can click on view calculation, and it's going to give me the detail. So it's going to show all the payments that were made, including this missed payment that wasn't made. And then it's also going to show me, I scroll down far enough, all those payments that weren't made. And at some point in there is a payment of the $1,500. That's it, somewhere in here. And then, oh yeah, it's being applied, 1,500. And I can go at the top of this page and view the calculation of interest as it accumulates pay period month by month. And then also another thing I want to show you, last thing, is we do a present value of a pension plan. So you can put in the pension, go to more info, and you're going to put in all the facts. There are 2 variables in pension valuation. One is the interest rate or discount rate, and the other is which mortality table to use. We have little helpful hints on the different mortality tables, and then you can click on more information, and it gives you a little bigger explanation of each of those mortality tables. And then it will give you a pension value. It will also do the coverage fraction. So here we started in the plan in 2006 and they were married in 2011. And our cutoff date is 2021. So 66.4% is marital or community property. We can look at the coverage calculation, which is handy for other things too. And then it also will give you the property division of it, of the community property. You can do lump sums, you can do also view the benefit payments that each party is going to get over the course of time. Now I have this program, this file set up. And if I go into reports, more reports, and I can go into, let's just go to the lawyer's page, it's easier to find, assumptions. And this will allow me to set how many years out I want the program to look. So we can go up to 50 years out and go 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, at 1 to 50. And this also allows me to set the start year. So if you ever have to calculate support for a prior year where you want that year's taxes to apply, you would just change the start year. And that's the year that the taxes will be used for child support. So, and you can go back certainly a long way. I think we go back about 25 years. So that's the program. Thank you very much for participating. I see I have one chat. Thank you, Kara. And have fun with the program. We do have support. If you go into our support page, we have FAQs, we have a quick start guide, which you're going to have to redo with this new menu thing. We have training videos, program help, and then contact us. We do through email. So this will take you out to our webpage where you can do the information. And it's very helpful if you tell us exactly what you are concerned about. And then we will get back to you as quickly as possible, usually within a couple of hours. And then for you guys, since you've come to one of my trainings, you get to be able to reach me directly. You have my email address. Feel free to reach out if you're stuck and you have a problem. Usually I know how to solve the problem because I've had the same one and have solved it myself. So I'm not just a salesperson or a product ambassador. I'm also a user of the program and have been for almost 20 years. So thank you all. That's the end of our webinar.